Good evening from InvestSharp. This is Randy Smotone with your Wednesday, February the 10th market update. I'm running a little behind today, so I apologize about that. But let's see, on the economic front, due to severe weather conditions around the DC area, and a lot of the country as far as that goes, the economic reports have been pushed to Friday, like the petroleum status report, the nat gas report, treasury budget. They'll all be Friday. We did get the international trade deficit out today, and it was worse than expected. It came in at 40.2 billion. The forecast was for 35.7 billion. So on deck for tomorrow is the weekly jobless claims number, and the forecast is for 467,000. The dollar, oil, and copper are up. Gold and silver were down. Light sweet crude futures were up 77 cents to settle at $74.52 a barrel. So we're watching the dollar here. We're still stuck right here. Very little buying today, but lots of selling the last 2 days. So we'll see how this goes. A lot of people are really bullish on the dollar right now that it's going higher. So, the selling on the last 2 days prior, and today's volume was not very high. It wasn't even average. So I don't see a lot of buying right now. But I think it depends on the news coming out of Europe. So let's take a look at the Dow. Right, the Dow closed down 20 points to 10,038. S&P closed down 2 points to 1,068. Nasdaq closed down 3 points to 2147, and the Russell actually was flat and stayed at 595. The Russell had the largest percent gain, up 0.11%. It actually was up almost a whole point. The Dow and the S&P were both the weakest, and they were down about 0.2%. So the whole market was pretty flat by the end of the day. So we look at the Dow. We've got this resistance here of this downtrend line above us around this 10,100 or so level. So we'll be watching that. S&P, same way. It's got resistance around, I would say, about 1,080. It's got downtrend line resistance. It has this uptrend line resistance where it broke down from here and, in the middle of this large red candle. So it's got a lot of resistance right there. So we'll continue to watch that. I really can't tell which way we're going right now. It just seems like it's a new market every day. No, we're just wild. It's just, who knows, whatever headline news comes out that day. So still concerned about Europe. So let's see. Let's look at the banks. Were pretty well. They were up and then they kind of pulled back. Goldman Sachs, BAC was up, then it pulled back. It looks like it's got some resistance here on Bank of America, J.P. Morgan. It's also got some. Do a trend line here, right? So it's got a downtrend line resistance. So watch for that on that one. Let's look at the VIX. VIX stuck right here around this 26. It was down about 2% today. Let's go take a look at the dollar, the US dollar futures, the cash composite, just because I heard a lot of noise about this possible of this golden cross on the dollar coming, which would be the death for commodities, right? So here, this gold color is the 50-day moving average on the DXY here. This gray or white kind of line is the 200-day on my chart. So they're talking about the 50 crossing above the 200, which would be golden cross. So that's what we're watching for. Is this the 50-day, this gold line crossing the 200? Hasn't got there yet, but all eyes are on this. So we'll be watching that. That's kind of what they're talking about. Watching. So, all right. And let's go look at the sectors. So 3 of the 16 sectors to follow finished in the green today. The bank index was the largest percent gainer, up 1.3%. Drug index was the weakest, down 0.8%. And back over to here. We'll take a look at gold real quick. Gold, it wasn't that weak today. It's kind of in this holding pattern of nothing. There was not heavy selling today, so it just kind of didn't do much of anything. Silver is down about 1%. Very low volume, not heavy selling, so it's just kind of stuck there too. The whole market was just kind of seems to be stuck today. So let's look at some charts real quick. AIG, everybody was playing this one today, so I just thought I'd point it out. It has huge volume, 31.6 million shares, and AIG was the play today, and I guess it could go higher. It had a huge gain today, so. NetLogic, I like the consolidation after the breakout of earnings, so it looks good for possible higher prices. This MetaFast, take a look at the 1 year chart. This thing was in a massive uptrend right here, okay? So here's March 09 to the highs of like January, beginning of January 2010 here. So it started selling off. Well, it's retraced back 61.8% on a Fibonacci. So that's kind of why we're eyeing it. It's making higher lows here, and does have resistance there at that about $18.55-56 area. So watch this. So it may be it's time to start moving again. It actually did gap higher on earnings, so keep that on your list. Could be in for another big move. Ross Stores, I like this. It's built a nice base. It's making higher lows here and making a higher high here and here. So keep Ross Stores on your watch list. Let's see, Halliburton. We're watching this because some guy, guy or girl, we don't know. February the 9th bought 28,000 or almost 28,000 July 2250 calls. So we're continuing to watch Halliburton. Compass Minerals. If the dollar gets a lot stronger, commodities start getting hit during the day, I would short this one, because even though it had great earnings and stuff, I mean, they'll start beating this thing up. So it could go higher if the gold and all the commodities are going higher, but also watch for a possible short. CTSH holding up well after earnings, so watch that one. AGU still moving after earnings, still looks pretty good, along with POT. POT's kind of got some resistance right around that trend line there, but still watch it for some higher prices if the market cooperates. AEM has broken out above its downtrend line, and it's looking pretty good. If gold holds up, the miners aren't looking too bad. And Elizabeth Arden talked to some of these we talked about yesterday. RDN still looking good, it's just sitting right there, holding up well. Let's see, Dolby, DLB, we looked at it yesterday. It's still looking good, kind of consolidating, but still looking good for possible higher prices. Islam Systems, ISLN, looks like it's right there. Wanted to break out today. Tons of volume on this thing. Just dying to go higher, but the market just doesn't want to let it right now. So keep that one on your radar, because it's probably going to fly if the market is strong. Have a good open. Relcorp, RAH still looks good for higher prices. Has a nice chart. Jack, like this one. Had a nice breakout, still holding up well. Buffalo Wildlings has resistance right there, so if the market gets really weak, you could probably short this one back down to that about $45 area. So, but it could break out higher if the market's strong here in the next couple of days. China Agritech holding up well after it broke higher. Ryland, not a lot of buying of late, so I'm not sure if this was going to roll over or not, but watch for higher prices or watch for a rollover. This one's a short we're still watching, ATHN. Watch ICE for a breakdown around that, $95 mark. SQM, another one that it's got resistance above it at around 36, so it could be a short, especially if they start beating up the commodities again. ANF, short. Coach, short. And there's no volume. There was more selling, no volume on the buying. And we've been watching Occidental Petroleum, but it does have at 80. Watch it at 80 because it's got a downtrend line here from the prior two touch points. All right, let's take a look at the current market signals. And I didn't look at the McClellan, did I? McClellan is still oversold. We're at minus 32. I meant to look at that earlier. So here's the McClellan oscillator, still oversold. We didn't do much of nothing today. Over to the current market signals. We follow the point and figure charts for the Dow, Nasdaq, S&P. Really no change. These two are still on sells. S&P's on a buy. Let's take a quick look at the S&P point and figure chart. So it's still holding up. We need to print down here. We've got to print what, 10,000 or 1,030. I mean 1,030, and we'll go on a sell signal S&P. So we still have a ways to go. So it still looks pretty good. So that's it for today. Thanks for joining me, and remember to always invest.